So we're looking from 1996, a comparative analysis of Ketu South, 2 constituencies in the Volta region, the 2 largest ones, Ketu South and Ho Central. 1996, number of registered voters, 77,000 for Ketu South. Rawlins gets 57,000 of those votes. Ho Central, 67,000 registered. Rawlins gets 52,000 of those votes. Massive, massive numbers over there. Let's move on. The story gets interesting when you get beyond 2000. So let's move on. This is the year 2000. First round. Ketu South. Number of registered voters, 86,170. Number of votes cast, 41,000. Now, this is going to mimic 2016, and that's why I stay here. So you see the number of registered voters in Ketu South, 86,000. 41,000 turn up to vote. Less than half turn out to vote for Professor Mills in the 2000 first round. What accounted for that? What happened to all the votes of Ketu South? Stronghold. What really happened? Now you look at the previous one. Professor Mills, that's 16,000 less than JJ did in 96. But it's not even that. The actual number of registered voters goes up. And let's go back to 1996 Ketu South and we'll see the number of registered voters. The number of registered voters here is 77,000. Let's go back to 2000. 2000's registered voters goes to 86,000. But the votes cast for Professor Mills has gone down. Why? People watching, you can tell me why. But that's significant. Very, very significant. Same with Ho Central. And this is an election that the NDC is losing. This is an election the NDC lost. So I think you're seeing some trend, you know, the same way I'm seeing the trend. Ho Central shows 74,000, and the number of votes cast is 40,000. Also down by 12,000. What is happening in these places at these times? What is happening? Number of registered voters goes up. Number of votes cast for the presidential candidate goes down. What's going on? Something was going on. Okay, 2000 second round. Let's see what happens. Ketu South with the same number of registered voters, of course, the same election. Boom, 53,000. Still not sufficient to clinch the victory. So plus 12. 2 weeks, 12,000 added. And the Ho Central, 2 weeks, 10,000 added. Professor Mills on 53 in Ketu South, and he's on 50 in Ho Central. Still not doing as much as he could do. NDC lose the election. 2004, let's see what happens in Ketu South. 2004, Ketu South. 81,000 is the number of registered voters. 81,000 is the number of registered voters in 2004. This is Professor Mills again. This time, he gets 65,000. Of course, as we said, 2004 is showing a lower number of registered voters in a new voters register across the country. Everywhere we look at it, the number of registered voters goes down, including Ashanti region for NPP who were in power and who was leading with J.A. Kufuor. So 81,000 registered voters, 65,000 turn up to vote. Looks like a good number. Professor Mills is adding 15,000 to his votes. Keep 65,000 in mind. It's a very interesting figure for Ketu South. We're going to come back to it. Keep it in mind, 65,000. Remember that, 65,000 for Professor Mills 2004. Let's come to 2008, an election that the NDC wins. Okay, first round, 2008. 98,000 people are registered to vote in Ketu South. First round. 53,000 turn up to vote. Professor Mills has done 11,000 less than he did in 2004's elections. Once again, there's a question. What is going on? Number of registered voters goes up to almost 100,000, 98,000. Votes cast in favor of Professor Mills is 53,000, and he's gone down by 11,000. In an election, second round in first round in 2008, where he actually ends up doing quite well. Ho Central is the same. He's getting 49,000 and is minus 2,000. So these are the figures from the two big constituencies in the Volta region. Let's look at second round 2008. Second round 2008 is coming up. Ketu South, same number of registered voters. Professor Mills is on 68,000 and he has done plus 12,000. In Ho Central, he's on 56,000 and he has done plus 6,000. These are the figures from the biggest constituencies in the Volta region. So that's 2008. This is how Professor Mills is elected as a president of Ghana. After the second round, he beats Akufo-Addo and he gets in and is president. 2012, NDC is in power. We changed to a biometric voters register. Let's see what happens. Ketu South shows 127. 127 registered voters in Ketu South now. in 2012, this election, the new biometric voters register, John Dramani Mahama is contesting for the first time, and he gets a whooping figure. Now, keep your eye on 81,000. President Mahama gets 81,000 out of 127,000 registered in Ketu and in Ketu South, and it is 13,000 on top of what Professor Mills gets in 2008. John Dramani Mahama makes a very impressive showing in 2012, and he gets that in whole Central of 88,000 people registered to vote. President Mahama picks up 62,000, and he's getting plus 6,000. Very impressive showing by John Dramani Mahama in 2012. 2016, have a look at what happens. I told you to keep your mind on 65,000. You see it again. There it is. 65,000 returns to the spreadsheet in favor of John Dramani Mahama on a whooping Ketu South 141,000. This is the big narrative. This has been cited in so many documents all over the place. Ketu South 2016, 141,698 voters registered to vote, and this turns out to be the biggest in the country. After the compilation of the new register in 2012 and a top-up in 2014, in 2016, when the register is published, Ketu South has the highest number of registered voters, 141. President Mahama is coming from an 81,000 votes in his favor in the 2012 election. What happens? 65,000 is the same number from 2004. Why did we get 65,000? Let's go back to 2004, I believe, and I ask you to keep your eye on that. Keep your eye on that. Keep your eye on that. There it is. 2004, 65,000, Ketu South, NDC, presidential candidate. 2016. Now, how many years is that? 4, 8 is 4, 12 is 8, 16 is 12. 12 years later, the NDC candidate is back on 65,000. Does it say anything? I don't know. Does it say anything? Whereas number of registered voters has quadrupled since the 12 years ago, now to 141,000, which is the highest number of registered voters in Ghana. The NDC candidate, the incumbent President John Dramani Mahama, is doing 65,000, the same figure of 2004 of Professor Mills. He's down 16,000 from the previous election. This is the numbers, raw data from Ketu South and whole Central. So these are the numbers that we're going to be crunching upon this year, and as we build up to December 7th, we're going to be looking at the analysis and be showing the political parties who are interested where you have some work to do, where you have to ask for answers. These kinds of figures demand answers. 141,000, 698,000, only almost 142,000 people turned up to register in Ketu South. On voting day, 65 turned up to vote for President Mahama. 7,000, by the way, vote for President Akufo-Addo. So if you add 65,000 to 7,000, you know what you get? You get something like 72,000. Total number of people who turned up to vote on a register of 141 is 72,000. Almost 70,000 don't show up to vote in Ketu South. President Mahama is down 16,000. These are the real figures. What does it mean? Our Zoom callers are ready. Let's move to our two constituencies in Ashanti and see what we get. This is just a teaser. There's a lot of data work that we are doing for this election. All our people are crunching the data. Some are doing Eastern region, some are doing Western region, some are doing Central region, some are doing Greater Accra region. We'll be bringing it to you week after week and sharing with you some of the significant numbers that we are getting. So this is 1996. Subin is a big constituency. 68,000 registered voters, 39,000 turned up to vote for J. Kufuor. Manhyia is one of the big ones. 102,000 people registered in 1996 to vote in Manhyia. Only 70,000, so 32,000 don't turn up, or they vote for the NDC. They don't vote for the NDC in 30,000s, but I'll get the figure for you. But this is an election that the NDC won. So if you look at the figures here in Ashanti, and where you see that the figures are being frustrated in Ashanti, remember, it's always a year that the NDC won the election. Let's move on to 2000, where the NPP actually win both first and second round by J. Kufuor. Subin, 96,000, 45,000 come there to vote, and it's plus 6,000. And in Manhyia, there are now 123,000 registered voters, 63,000 only turn up to vote, and you have 581,000 over there. These are the figures, 123,000. That's a huge number. Only 63,000 turn up to vote. These are some of the figures that demand answers. In Manhyia, in the first round in 2000, 123,000 registered voters, 63,000 only turn up to vote. in an election that has a high voter turnout. Let's look at second round. What's happening in the second round? In the runoff, Subin shows plus 1,000, which is normal for 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, normal. Manhyia shows plus 3,000 within 2 weeks, normal. So, are there concerns about voters register historically in Ghana? Are there concerns about voters register? Should we be concerned about voters register? Should we be interested in having a voters register that doesn't have any addition from anyone, from anywhere? Should we be concerned about that? Yesterday, people were talking about President Akufo-Addo saying that the Ghanaian election is not an ECOWAS election. So only people in Ghana and Ghanaians who can vote. But you've seen some of the figures that we are pushing around to you. These are raw data from the Electoral Commission's data stable. 123,000 people registered to vote. Election has high turnout. 67,000 turnout to vote for John Kufuor. Some vote for the NDC. Okay, let's move to 2004, where we find that across the country, after the voters registration exercise, every voter turnout went down. And this is Subin, and Manhyia is now 102, and the figures are now coming up. 70,000 are turning up to vote. 2008 was an election that NPP lost. Subin is 87,000, only 43,000 voting. Manhyia is 121,000 registered voters, only 66,000, down 3,000, and Subin is down 1,000. That's what happened in 2008 round one, where the NDC won. Let's go, 2008 runoff, where the NDC wins again, but now the figures appreciate for the NPP. Manhyia in 2008, after 2 weeks, is up by 29,000, and NPP is now doing 95,000 over there. That's the constituency of the education minister, the best minister, they say, in Ghana these days, Honorable Matthew Poku Prempeh. That's his constituency, and he's plugging 29,000 more in 2008's runoff for Akufo-Addo, who is the candidate. Let's go to 2012, an election that the NDC actually did win. And Subin has 80,000 now, 47,000 are turning up to vote, down by 3,000 in Subin, and Manhyia is up by 22,000, significant. Manhyia is very significant. Now Manhyia is holding 113 registered voters, and this is the picture. There's an election that John Dramani Mahama wins. You see that Subin is not doing as well as it should do. 80,000, 47,000, down 3,000. Manhyia is always an excellent constituency. This is a combination of Manhyia North and South. Actually, by this time, the constituency is divided into Manhyia North and South. And that's what you get from Manhyia. 73,000 votes from 113,000 registered voters. Let's have a look at 2016. And in 2016, Subin has 82,000 and is still showing 48,000, just 1,000 more. And Manhyia North and South is also showing 1,000 more. 122,000 votes, 74,000, and there's an election that actually NDC wins. Subin is appreciating by plus 1,300. Manhyia is also going up. When the NPP wins, all their votes are going up in Ashanti, and when the NPP loses or the NDC wins, all the Ashanti votes are going down. Voter practically remains the same. So these are the analysis as you go and register, and if you're a political party, a journalist, you're studying it. As I said, we're coming to you with different analysis as we prepare for this election from any other place. Anything that you see, you observe, you can send us on Good Evening Ghana Official so that we can add it to the narrative. But this is the analysis.